10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 174. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 174 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. My name is Nick Manella. If you are brand new to the show, welcome in. We are so glad to have you here. And if you are a long-time returning listener, well, you already know that we're super glad to have you here, and we could not do this without you. So thanks for tuning in yet again. Again, if you're new to the show, you can get the PDF to this episode and all 174 episodes that we've ever done at our Patreon site. And you can find that by going to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, clicking on one of the Patreon links, go over there, sign up. It only costs you $3 a month to get an absolutely massive library of PDFs and lessons, things to help you on your jazz journey, and it will definitely make you a better player. We've got over 250 people that also agree with that over there. So if you decide to become a member of the family, we really appreciate it. Got to give a shout out to a couple of people this week. Thank you to Steven or Stefan, not sure which, and John for signing up this week, becoming a part of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson family. And again, 10minutejazzlesson.com. Click on one of the Patreon banners. Go and get yourself signed up today. All right, let's not waste any more time and get into this very, very important episode. So I wanted to talk about why I am putting out this episode and what I want you guys to accomplish with the material that I'm presenting to you this week. At first, this seems like really simple material, but when you hear what I want you to do with it, I think it'll become a little bit less simple. And also, we're going to do a couple of episodes on this and slowly start to ratchet up the difficulty so that by the end of this series of episodes, you're actually doing stuff that's kind of difficult. So here's the first thing. These episodes are all going to be based on singing. Now, you can play this information on your instrument. There's nothing wrong with that. But I am requiring you, as your teacher, to sing it as well. That's where the real benefit from this material is going to come from, is going to be reproducing these pitches with your voice and getting the voice leading down so that you can actually sing it and you're not relying on the instrument. So I decided to come back and revisit some voice leading stuff, and I'll tell you why. It has occurred to me over the past couple of weeks, working with my students again this fall, that we need to do a little bit more than just memorizing vocabulary. I still think there's a huge reason to memorize a bunch of vocabulary and learn it in all 12 keys, and I've talked about that at length on the podcast. But I think we need to do a little bit more. And the way that I'm looking at this with this material that I'm going to present to you this week is if we understand voice leading and we can hear voice leading, we can come up with much more creative lines. And we don't have to rely on regurgitating vocabulary that we have memorized in the past. Now, I've said this before on the show as well, that I'm somebody who has a lot of trouble just memorizing a bunch of vocabulary and then playing it. My brain does not work that way. So for all the people out there that are similar to me who can't really do that, this episode is really going to be for you. So instead of using a piece of vocabulary as a template, we're going to use voice leading as a template. And as we get deeper into this and get a little bit more complicated, you're going to see what I mean. It's going to become very, very clear what I mean by this. But for this week, I want you to just focus on the exercises that I'm giving you, and that's it. I don't want you to worry about, what is the point of this? Why am I doing this? Just simply do the exercises that I'm presenting to you, and then I will illuminate where all of this is going. So it's just a little preamble to the exercises that I'm giving you this week, because they might seem like I just kind of dropped them on you out of nowhere. And they also might seem super simple. You might say, well, I can already do this. But some practice on this stuff is going to be very beneficial, even if it is review. Okay, so I guess you'll just have to trust me on this one and practice the exercises that I'm giving you. So what I've done is I've written out a 2-5 in the key of C major. And what I want you to do is I want you to sit down at a piano or work with this particular podcast and just get ready to sing. That's about it. So what I've done is, let's look at example number 1, and I'm going to kind of explain what this is. So I've started on the 3rd of the 2 chord, so over D minor 7, that's an F natural. And then the voice leading that makes the most sense over the G7 chord, the 5 chord, is to simply just stay on that F natural, right? Because the 3rd becomes the 7th. Now, voice leading would also dictate that when we go to the C major 7 chord, the 1 chord, we go down a half step to E. And remember, voice leading is just the concept of staying on a note between chords or going to the closest note to give us that kind of seamless sound where we're not jumping around a lot and we understand the way that the chords fit together. So this is the most basic voice leading possible. We start on the 3rd of the 2 chord, we stay on that note, it becomes the 7th of the 5 chord, and then we go down a half step to the 3rd of the 1 chord. So I want you to check out what this sounds like before we sing it. Okay, so now you've heard it. Now your job is going to be to actually sing these notes. So you're going to find that concert F, you're going to sing that twice, and then you're going to sing a concert E over the C major 7 chord. So here's your starting note, concert F. Sing it in whatever octave is comfortable for you. All right, now here we go. Now you're going to start on that note. Ready, go. Try it again. Here's your starting note. So I want you to keep doing that until you can do it faithfully over and over again. All right. You could sit down at the piano, play a basic voicing for D minor 7, play a basic voicing for G7, play a basic voicing for C major 7. You could even just use the roots if you want to. It'll have the same exact effect. All right, so let's look at example number 2. Now, this is the second most logical voice leading. So if we start on the 7th of the D minor 7 chord C, voice leading would dictate that we need to go to B on the G7 chord. So that's 7 to 3, which we've talked about a lot. And then we're going to stay on that B over the C major 7th chord because that is the 7th of the C major 7 chord. Check out what it sounds like first. Okay, now let's try and sing it. So here's your starting note, concert C. Here we go. Ready, go. And one more time. And again, practice that until you can faithfully reproduce that every time, time after time. It's not that hard. I don't think that very many of you will have that much trouble doing this. All right, now all we've done is we've done the exact same thing, but we're resolving to a minor chord, which obviously changes the sound of things. So now if you start on the 7th of the 2 chord, that's concert C, then you move to B natural. But now if we resolve to a C minor 7 chord, now we're going to resolve to a B flat, which is the 7 of C minor 7. So check out what this one sounds like. It'll sound the same for the first two measures, but then it will sound a little bit different starting on concert C. So that's just a series of half steps going down. All right, your turn to sing it. Half step down each measure. Here's your concert C. One more time. And then the final exercise, we're going back to the third of that 2 chord, and we're going to start doing F, which is the third. We're going to stay on F, which is the 7th, and then we're going to go down a whole step from that F down to E flat, and that's going to finish things off for us. Check out what this one sounds like. Here's your concert F. All right, now I want you to sing it. Here's your concert F. Ready, go. And one more time on that one. All right, so there you have it. That's your assignment for this week, being able to sing that stuff. A lot of you could probably do it on the first try, but if you're having some trouble with that, again, sit down at the piano, replay this podcast, whatever you want to do. Just make sure that you can do that by next week, because we're going to get just a little bit more complicated next week. And again, this is so important because you really can't reach the highest levels of playing jazz if you can't hear this kind of stuff. This is so important. It took me a long time before I was able to hear this kind of stuff, and my playing just improved so much. It really allows you to make a better connection with the instrument when you can kind of anticipate what you're going to play using your ears. So grab the worksheet, sit down at the piano, sit down with the podcast, and try this. Get this done. All right. We'll see you next week with a brand new episode where we're going to kind of take this to the next level, make it a little bit more fun and a little bit more challenging. If you've got any questions, post them in the community 10-Minute Jazz Lesson community Facebook group, and I will definitely get back to you on that. Or you can email me at 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com. All right, everybody, make sure you go and sign up for Patreon to get your hands on this PDF. We really appreciate everybody that's doing that. And we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.